Many artists like to draw and paint portraits of their pets as well as other animals. Animals present all types of new textures to work with, which incorporate some of the techniques that you've already learned in this class, as well as new ones that we'll cover here. In this lesson, you'll learn how to use firmer pencil pressure to create sleek fur, how to achieve wispy, soft-looking fur with light pencil pressure, and how to focus on shadow and dimension to depict feathers of all types. Animals have different types of fur, long and sleek, soft, short, and fluffy. Rendering long and sleek fur requires more pencil pressure to create a shiny look. This is a recent painting of a newborn foal with his mother. Let's look at the mare's sleek fur and mane and how it's drawn. I would achieve this look by laying down a few initial light colors. Then I would add some midtones, blend that into the light colors, add some darks, and start burnishing. I would probably burnish with my white pencil and restore color with some browns, even going into the blacks actually, and just go back and forth with my pencil. Pressure would be 3, and then burnishing would be 4 to 5. It's really that back and forth step that I was talking about before. Adding midtones, adding darks, burnishing down, and then perfecting the highlights. Let me show you how to create a swatch of sleek fur. I'm using the left section of the dog's nose. I already have the base color down, which is ginger root, and I'm showing you this right here. I'm doing the lower section as well as the upper section. Some darks that are in there are with my dark brown pencil. I'll show you where I've created those strands just to get us going. My pressure is light right now. I'm not at the point where I'm going to burnish because I don't have enough wax down. The burnishing wouldn't work. Okay, now I'm going to start laying down some wax with some midtones. The first midtone pencil is called Light Umber. It's a great pencil to use when you're working on pet portraits. So I'm going over the swatch of color that you've already seen me do. Adding a little burnt ochre for color, not over everything, just some of it. Stretching it into the highlight a little bit. Heading up here at the root. And now my favorite pencil, this is called Chocolate. Chocolate is a nice warm brown. It's great for rendering horses. There's no need to go over every single thing. Be random with your strokes. You want to see a few layers of different colors. I have enough layers of color down. Now I'm going to add a light color. This is called Sand, and bring that over the highlight. My pressure is about 2 to 3. Stretching it into the midtones. Using this color because if you look at the photo, that highlight is not white. It is a softer, creamy beige. Okay, so now I have lights, midtones, and we will have darks by the time we're through. So I'm going to take a white pencil. My tip is slightly blunt because I don't want it to break, and I'm just going to burnish. This is 4 to 5 pressure starting at the hair root, using curved strokes and moving down the lock of fur. This is a time-consuming process. I'm going to take it a little quicker so you get the idea. This is where I'm bringing back those small elliptical strokes. We don't need to have harsh lines when we're burnishing. Blending into the midtones now, creating some pressure, creating some heat on the wax from the pressure on my pencil. Do you see how these colors are now sort of melting together? They are becoming one new color. Remember, you don't want to have pencil crumbs embedded on your project. They can be hard to get out, especially if they're dark. But if you do have that happen, take a real sharp point on your white pencil and just nudge them right off. I promise you they'll lift off. Okay, we've got a nice smooth blend here, but it's not realistic yet. And the reason for that is because it looks a little waxy. It actually looks a little anemic. So let's add some more color. I'm going to pick up the chocolate pencil, throw some more color down. Go back to the root here, more color. Grab my dark brown pencil and install some darks. For the darkest strands, we'll use dark umber. Again, that really fabulous dark brown pencil. And I'll be a little judicious in where I lay that down because I don't want it to cover everything that I just put in. More pressure at the ends. This sort of anchors this first strand. We'll have pressure and darkness at this end as well as at this end. Strokes are curved to follow the direction of the fur. Okay, so that's nice, but we have to blend it. I've got a couple choices here. I could go back to my white pencil, or I could take a pencil that is one of these mid-tone colors, and that is what I'm going to choose to do, and I think light umber is a good choice for that. Okay, here we go. Pencil pressure is 4. Pressing down, building color, stretching it into the highlight, and now it's becoming a little bit more realistic. I'll take my sand to burnish that highlight, and we're almost done. We're just going to burnish the highlight, blend it into the midtones. It's that back and forth stroke. And because I do want to smooth that, I'll bring back my white pencil. You'll find when you're doing your own portraits that you'll spend a lot of time on fur because you'll want it to look just right. You'll want it to be believable. And it's not that hard to do at all. It's just strokes. Just remember to have your darks, your midtones, and your highlights. Fluffy fur is fun to do. We see fluffy fur with baby animals, puppies, kittens, and hamsters, as well as softer manes in newborn foals, like Felix here. Soft and fluffy fur involves curly strokes, wispy textures, and strands that extend into the background. It involves a lighter touch and strokes that are often short and curved. Let me show you what I mean with this small tuft of fur on the lion cub's head. I've started this sample out with ginger root. My pressure is about a 2, and I'm doing random markings. See how I'm stretching it out into the background and just randomly doing curved strokes to establish my initial base layer. The next thing I'm going to do is just add some midtones, starting with light umber. And I'm not going over those exact strokes, I'm kind of making new ones. Throw in some goldenrod, because we do see that in the lion cub. Heading into the background a little bit. Okay, adding some burnt ochre. I love burnt ochre. It's a reddish brown. It's really nice. And then anchoring it with a dark brown, because the color of fur tends to get a little darker as it extends into the root. So here we go. We've got dark brown here, and I'm applying it down a little further. This can take a lot of time, and it can be very enjoyable, actually very relaxing. You're just laying down random strands of fur. But once you get all these strands down, you want to make it look somewhat realistic. And that's where a lighter pencil comes in to burnish. I wouldn't burnish with white here, but I would press down firmly with my ginger root pencil, which was the first color of the base. So do you see how with a little bit of pressure, it's sort of morphing the existing layers together? Ultimately, what we want is a fully blended and burnished section that becomes wispy as it goes out into the background. I'm just going to develop this right side here, adding in a bit more brown, a little softer, and you get the idea. A little of this, a little of that, and you're probably wondering, well, how am I going to do the background if you have those strands going into the background? Well, you draw the background around it. So here's wispy strand, green background. I don't have a green pencil right here, but you would draw the background into the strand, into the section between the strands. And then you would finish those strands. Once your background is layered in, you would just finish each strand so that it blends nicely into the background. Artists love to draw birds. They're unique subjects with so many exciting textures to render. But that also makes them more complicated than other animals. Don't be scared. It's actually a great opportunity to work with shadows and reveal depth and dimension. For instance, in this reference photo of a parrot, take a look at the shadow and depth of its feathers, the defined layers and stiffer texture. You use shadows to convey that. Let me show you how with the kingfisher bird painting that I've done for this class. Right here in this sample swatch, I have 2 layers of ultramarine already established. I'm going to put down another layer for you to see. Actually, I'm going to put down Copenhagen blue first. These are the 2 colors I'm working with, Copenhagen blue and ultramarine. My pressure is a 2. My strokes are going downward, slightly elliptical though as I proceed down this feather. And I'm going back and forth with these 2 pencils, ultramarine and Copenhagen blue. One is a truer blue and the other one is a purpler blue. Once I have a few layers, I'm going to burnish them with white to bring them together. My white burnish is with a relatively sharp point, but I won't be surprised if it breaks. In fact, I'm going to make it break. There. Now that that tip has broken, I can relax because it's not going to break again in this session. It's a nice dull edge that is going to allow me to put some serious pressure and blend those 2 blues together, that truer blue and that purpler blue. So let me take a moment to do that. Strokes are overlapping. Pressure is 4 to 5. Now we need to do something so that that doesn't look like a sleek feather like the one below it. So in order to do that is I put in some random strokes, some strokes that you actually see with those 2 pencils. A few more, crisscross, crisscross. Okay, so we're going to let that be for now, but I'm going to come back to that. What I want to do is establish that inner border, or that outer border. There goes the pencil point. And now I'm using a very thin pencil, which is harder wax. But points break when you're putting a lot of pressure on them, no matter if they're oil-based or wax-based. Scooting around the perimeter of this feather and showing you a little bit of a highlight, swinging it to the front here. A lot of pressure right here. And the reason why I'm doing this now, before we fully develop those fluffy strands across the top feather, is because they're going to extend over this little border. Okay, swing it up. Okay, add some more color, some more strands. Extend it out and over. I'm actually going to throw in a little bit of black grape. Why not? Blend a little bit, but as I'm blending, I'm adding a few white strands of their own. I'm sharpening my white pencil because I want to carve out some individual strands that you actually see, that say to you, that is a fluffy strand of feather on top of that image. But it's not real looking yet because we have to address the shadow. I don't like to head right in with black, it's a little harsh. So I'm going to use my black grape pencil and outline this lower portion with black grape. Just scoot a little shadow under there. I'm using 2 to 3 pressure, and this is lifting the top feather from the bottom feather. And you can see that on the finished still life as well. Becomes a pattern. When you have so many feathers all in a row, it's just a repeating pattern. Okay, so I've got that in there. Now it's time to, I think I'll line this top feather, and we'll say goodbye to this and head downward to the sleek feather. Again, we're playing with Copenhagen blue and ultramarine to develop that. My strokes are vertically elliptical, if that makes any sense at all, overlapping, bringing it down to the base and adding some wax because I will really need to burnish this. Burnishing will create a sleek look. Going to take my ultramarine over on the right hand side because that's sort of the pattern that you see in the photo. It's a little darker on the right side of these sleek feathers. Swing it down. Burnish with my softer wax pencil. Pressure is 4 to 5. Morphing the two colors together in the middle. This is a technique that I use when I'm blurring my backgrounds. Just taking those two colors on the seam, blending on either side. Here we go, moving down. Get rid of that with my brush. Okay, now we see that on the left side there is a very defined edge, a white edge for this bottom feather as well. We'll need a sharp point. And here we go. Take this a little slow. I'm not using 5 pressure because I would send the point flying. I'm just carving this with a very sharp point. Heading down the side. Well, there she went. Okay, so now I have an angle. I find that angle and I go for it. Yep. No worries, just adjust your hand and keep going all the way around. We want that white stripe because that defines form. The shadows and the highlights really make the midtones come alive. I'm going to add a little bit more black under here for that shadow. And I would develop this more if I were spending more time on it. But for now, you get the idea. And now I'm going to outline this with a purplish pencil. And there you have it. That's sort of that's the technique for developing bird feathers that overlap. For a more in-depth look at creating realistic animal portraits, be sure to check out Gemma Gilling's Pet Portraits in Colored Pencil class. And for your homework, find a photo of a furry friend and create a detailed swatch that includes some shadows. In our next lesson, recreating your favorite fabrics.